Sweet. Thanks for coming in, man.
Appreciate having us, mate.
It's been a few months.
Been a hot little minute, mate.
Yeah. We were in a very different facility.
Yes.
The last time we met.
Congrats, by the way.
Yeah. It's certainly a little bit of an upgrade from the last one. How have things been going?
Good. We're really stoked. We've had quite a few clients, obviously, actually moved into the new homes now with our partnership now with the epoxy flooring, and man, faultless.
Yeah.
The builders as well that we're working with, they're real happy so far with the lead times and everything like that. It's a quick turnaround.
Sure.
It's not really slowing down that side, so all parties have been absolutely stoked. We love seeing the finished product. Clients are absolutely frothing it.
Yeah.
So they're coming in, parking up their cars, getting things sorted, and if there's any issues, they just clean it up. Happy days.
Yeah.
It's such a unique product, and the fact that it hasn't been available to the Australian market for the general Aussie bloke and chick, to have that available now is just phenomenal.
I think a lot of it's awareness, right? Like, people have always known like resin flooring and resin finishes have existed, but no one's really like where do I go, and can my builder provide it for me?
Exactly. A lot of the times it's in a workshop. You see in the workshop it's always coded, but a lot of people just don't think to actually do,
something decorative as well.
Exactly, something decorative in the garage where, a lot of our clients, obviously their focus is having a bigger garage, a bigger home. You can't get the sheds these days. Yeah. So why not protect those floors and actually make it look nice? Some of them are actual full show cars. Yeah. So go have a nice flake to it and actually make it present well. You're spending so much coin on these homes. Why not make it look a bit flash?
Definitely.
It's so cost effective too.
And the thing is, customers, quite a common question I imagine, like we get as well, is I can just go to Bunnings and get a 2-pack paint, and it's sure, you can do that, and there's nothing wrong with it, because everyone's got a budget to work to, right?
Yeah.
But if you look at it long-term perspective, if you have to recoat your floor every 12 months, every Christmas break or Easter that you get time off, what is that actually costing you in the 10 years or 20 years that you're staying in your property for, right?
Yes.
Versus doing something once and spreading that cost over the same period of time. Probably it works out more cost effective to have an establishment like ourselves or a company like ourselves come in and not just do that, but it's the peace of mind you're paying for.
100%.
Something goes wrong.
Yeah.
You've got someone to point.
You're getting that phone call, not me.
And our job is to make sure that that doesn't happen, right?
Absolutely. But that's the thing. I think a lot of people don't actually realise that by doing it internally, like with our build and with you guys, is there are warranties in place for the work and for the product, and you're not having to try and do it yourself, and half of us are just lazy. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's too much effort. We just spent all this coin waiting for this house to be built. Yeah. We just want to get it done, and it's that the more easier we can make something for someone and they can see the value in that product, 100%, you join them together. Yeah. And like you were saying before, the more awareness we have, the more people are going. We're getting clients now that actually aren't even building with us going, hey, can we have this in our home? Yeah, right. I'm like, sure, finish the house, and we'll refer you guys to Hawk and have a bit of a gander, but it's no longer just the general, rev heads and all of that. It's families, young families. Everyone wants something to protect their floors, and why not? So definitely, it's something that's really handy. And the biggest question we get is, why do a full epoxy floor with a business like Hawk versus just going to Bunnings and getting a standard thing? And trying to explain to them, what those differences are. Like, we'll probably get into a bit more detail with you about it, because obviously there's a bit more we need to look into. A lot of those products, they're all sweet, they look nice, but you drive, a lot of these guys have, they drive on the freeway, they've got hot tyres, and it starts bubbling after 6 months. Like, can you give us a bit more info about that side?
Yeah, definitely. So the way that I probably would explain it is, look, there are a heap of products on the market, right? Yep. And there's some really good products on the market and some pretty average,
not so good
products that maybe lack an adequate amount of product testing to make sure that they'll work in the conditions that we get here in Australia, or especially in WA, right? So a lot of what we do behind the scenes is product testing over and above what manufacturers have already done.
Cool.
And that takes years sometimes. So there's a lot of investment from us into making sure the products that we put down every day withstand the conditions that they're, and over and beyond what they're exposed to, right?
Right.
But that takes significant investment and time and effort, and to make sure, and that's one aspect of it. So now, the question is, one of the questions could be, customer says to you, what's the difference between going to Hawk, who put down these range of products, or Benny's trailer, Benny's flooring, and he works out of a trailer. What's the difference between there? And I'd say to that, great question, right? Clearly you're going to pay one, you're going to invest more into one over the other. Yes. And there's clearly benefits of going with Benny's flooring working out of his trailer, because it's going to be more cost effective for you. There's less overheads, there's less expense to operate that type of business, right?
Right.
The benefit of using us isn't that we're just some magically better business. It's that there's the infrastructure that goes into our business. Like you've seen, obviously, our admin team, our estimation team, our operations team, to the size of and they're not subcontractors, they're all employed by us, our actual on-site team, our applicators on the tools. There's a lot of infrastructure and investment that goes into that for us to be the business that we are now.
Yes.
And what we want to be able to offer to our clients and our market and the demographic that we're aiming at is for them to go, essentially like how you guys currently operate with us. Benny, here's a purchase order. That's the date. Send the bill when it's done.
Yep.
Right? Whereas, and you're paying for reliability, peace of mind. Never. What's the term used? It's I forget. It'll come to me. But basically, like a pain-free experience.
Yeah.
Your best suppliers are probably the ones you speak to the least.
Yes.
Like, am I right? Because they're certainly we
can rely on them.
Yeah. Because you go, that's what I need.
Yep.
I'll see you when it's done.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
And with the type of clients that we have, that's essentially all they want. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with Benny's flooring working out of a trailer. I was that 15, 20 years ago, right? And that's how I started. There's a market for that, but it's just not Hawk. And there's nothing wrong with both of them, right?
Yeah.
I want to be clear. I don't think there's anything wrong with working out of a trailer or a van or being an operation like ours. Right. We've got completely different markets.
Yes.
We want to be able to service clients like yourself that have, 10, 20, 30, 40 houses that come through, and you just get it done. And it's consistent work, consistent results that you get to, right? That's what essentially you're paying for with, I guess, where we land in terms of whether it's our quotes or dollar figures or agreed upon rates and stuff like that, is that peace of mind, right? Like if I bought an AMG and I took it to UltraTune to get service, and there's nothing wrong with UltraTune, we get our cars serviced at UltraTune. But if I bought an AMG and I paid $500,000 for my car, am I going to take it to UltraTune? I'm going to send it back to Barbagallo's or
even to the dealer, to the specialist, where that's what they do.
Exactly. I know I'm going to pay a premium, but that premium affords me peace of mind.
Exactly.
Right? And for something that I've invested so much into, I need to look after it, and the best way I can look after it is by going to the person that is most suited or catered to look after the problem that I have. Yeah. Hopefully that answers that.
Yeah, 100%. Well, and that's what it is. It's from a business point of view with us and with our builders as well. We need reliability, and the thing is we've got so many jobs across all of Perth, and now obviously we're in Adelaide as well. We can't just have Tom, Dick, and Jerry that runs their own show with a one-man band. What happens if, God forbid, something happens to them or they go on holiday and we've got jobs on site? We don't want to be delaying our our clients' homes and their construction journey because someone decides because they don't have enough manpower or
the capacity to
exactly and you've also got to look at is their buying power going to be the same it is now versus in in 8 months' time when they're on site when we actually need the job to actually be done. It's a very different mannerism obviously when you're incorporating it into a build as well. So we did obviously go through quite a few different businesses when we first obviously spoke with you guys, and a big part of that why we loved working with you guys.
Because I kept sneaking into your DMs. I kept trying to slide in.
Just slide in the DMs. Now, a big part was actually the fact that one is you're not just incorporating materials from overseas or international. You guys have your own teams here in WA that you understand the challenges that the WA weather and what's actually needed for here. It's very different what happens internationally or even nationally overseas versus what we have to deal with here in WA. So having products that actually incorporate and is designed for that for us means a lot more. Do you know what I mean? It's that you're taking the time and like you were saying before, all that product testing, because then the results show for themselves. We had our office done nearly 2 years ago now. We've got the drift car, we've got fuel spillages, everything. Not a single fucking. There's nothing there that we can do. Every time there's been an issue, we just wipe it off with all-purpose spray. So to be able to show the clients as well, it's been really handy to actually realise for people that there is a difference. Some of their mates have gone and used some of those self-applicating tools that they can do themselves, and they've seen issues after 12, 18 months versus they come to ours at our events and going, it's faultless. You guys haven't been back since. You need to come back anyway just for the office. But
definitely
in terms of the product, and that's what's really reinforcing. Is there anything else in terms of with the actual products themselves that is a more beneficial that you guys might be able to offer versus Tom, Dick and Jerry from down the road?
It's a good question. So for most of our clients, in fact, this is the way that we train our sales teams is rather than sit there and go, hey, Mr. Customer, these are products A, B, and C, I'll give you a price on all three. What I try and instill in the guys is, they're coming to us because they might have a problem or something they want us to solve, right? So ask and just sit there and listen. Let them talk about how much they've invested in their time and money into their property that they're building, or it's their forever home, or it's their first build, or whatever it is, right? And try and understand who your customer is. And then from there you start building on what it is we put down for them. And one of the things is clearly budget's important, but people tend to sort of shy away from it because it's almost said
it's almost like a dirty word. It's almost like a taboo, like a taboo subject to talk about, even though it's the reality of if it is too expensive and I can't afford it, but we want to know where that is.
Correct. So what we try and do is, rather than sit there, I think it's a little bit off-putting if a salesperson sits there, or an estimator sits there and goes, oh, what's your budget? You're not going to tell me. It's just not the way that we operate, right? So what we do is, both our phones are going off. So what we do is we sit there and we find out what the customer's needs are, right? Similar to what we did, I don't know, was it 2 years ago now? We sat down with
2
you.
years.
And we find out what your needs are and then tailor an approach. And we go, here are the options that will best work for you. Here's the one that we probably recommend, but the other two will work. And we're extremely transparent with our customers and go, here are the limitations of option A, B, and C. Here are the reasons why we think option A might be the best fit for you. Understand if there are budget constraints, option B will still last you well, but here are some of the things that might happen. So, example, customer can't afford to, or it isn't in their budget to put a full flake system down with a UV stable top coat. Well, here's the next option, which is a solid color system. It doesn't come with a UV stable top coat. So, if the areas are prone to a lot of sunlight, it will yellow or fade over time. And that's an easy one to point out. You've been transparent with the customer. You've not just gone, well, they can't afford that, so I must sell them this. You've gone, here are some of the things that could happen, right?
Absolutely.
And customers really appreciate that. And in terms of pricing, the way we structure our pricing essentially is to make sure that our business is sustainable, but also at the same time that, like I spend a lot of time researching what the market price is, what people are expecting to pay. So we're trying to, without being, I guess, certainly what we're not trying to be is, extort. We're not trying to extort clients out of our customers out of any sort of excessive and over and above what market prices are.
Yep.
Same time, we have to be, for us to function the way that we function and as efficiently as we function, we have to be at least breaking even, right? But ideally making some profit. Otherwise, what are we doing?
What's the point of being in the business? Yep.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's how we structure our pricing, and because we've got access to the things that we've got access to. I mean, you walk through our workshop, you've seen like our warehouse with all the equipment that we've got in there. We were just doing a drill the other day. Like, we've invested in the last 12 to 18 months, like over $1 million worth into our infrastructure, equipment, upgrading vehicles, all that sort of stuff, right? And that money's got to come from somewhere, and that's essentially the way we're tailored the way.
How you structure the business and how that model works.
Correct. Yeah. But what it means is that at a drop of a hat, a customer like yourself can come in and go, mate, I've got 30 houses next year. I need someone to look after them. What do you got?
Yeah.
And I can sit there with you like we did for a few hours and go, we could do this, 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 and this. Leave it with me. We'll come back to you, and this is how it's going to look. Does that work for you, Nick? Yeah, seems pretty good. Let's give the first few a crack. Make sure that you guys are,
we're happy and everything flows as what we've agreed upon. And that's the biggest thing with our business model is when we deliver and we say on something, we want that delivered.
Yeah.
When it comes from our builders, from myself, when we present our business model and all of our affiliates and partners, we want to be able to have that trust and that reliability on each other, that we will deliver on what we say, which we know we can deliver on the numbers and the volume of clientele. We want our business partners to be able to go, hey, that is what we said, and here's the product that we're delivering.
Definitely.
And it's a very big and important thing for us, because that transparency and honesty up front, it goes a long way with clientele, and obviously word of mouth referral business as well. And that's the thing what we focus on. So in terms of actually coating the floors and not coating, what are the biggest benefits like for clients to actually be aware? Is there like a real short frame, why coat your floors?
So that's that question there we get asked from time to time. Best way I can explain it is, Nick, if you've just bought a brand new car, right?
Yep.
And you've ordered this candy apple red, and it's got this particular shimmer in it, and it's such a wicked color. What are you going to do first thing? Paint protection.
Yeah.
Right. If the dealer sells it to you, great, or you know someone that can do it, great.
Yep. But
you want to protect that investment, right? And it's no different for floors. Like, obviously a lot of what we do for you are garages, but internal areas of your home, like workshops, warehouses, anything, commercial areas, like we're there to protect the investment. In a residential application, it's typically a customer's home, somewhere where they dwell in, they live in, they have to see every day, they have to come out and not see oil stains on the floor and stuff like that. For commercial applications, it's productivity. Like, every time a company stops production because they've got repairs and renovations and all this kind of stuff to do, they lose money, right?
Right.
So we're there to essentially protect the investment, and this is a thing that I guess a quote that I picked up many years ago. Your floor, like, people spend thousands, tens of thousands on their bench tops, right?
Yep.
But they will sit there and go, oh man, like, what can I just put down on the floor to finish this floor? One, because it's typically the last thing that goes in your house, so your budget's already like blown.
Yep.
But two is, why would you not invest more into the hardest traffic surface in your property, like whether it's home or commercial?
Yeah.
It is literally the hardest traffic. You spend more on your walls and your fixtures, your lighting, your bench tops, but the thing that you're hammering the most
is your floors.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's a different perspective to have, because like, once your floors are done, like, everything else is an accessory, right?
Yep.
finishing your floors, you have to walk on your floors every day. Your animals have to run on them. Your kids have to break stuff on the floor, and you want to be able to sit there and not think twice about,
are your floors getting damaged or exactly?
So you're essentially protecting your investment. Yep. And the other thing is aesthetics, particularly with residential, right?
Yep.
Customers why do customers build? Because they want the house to be theirs. Like it's so unique to them.
Yes.
And what better way than to not only protect your floor or your investment, but to make it look like
wow.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
We've done garages where we polish the concrete in garages, and customers have had some incredible cars in there. We've got customers like a lot of your customers where they've got some pretty dope setups in their hoists and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they want to walk in there and go, wow, like that impact, right? The whole reason they build is because of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's their priorities. It's what's important for them. Absolutely. What about some future trends? Do you see any future trends coming up in the market for epoxy flooring and stuff like that?
Yeah, so the resin flooring's certainly changed to some extent over the last couple of decades. And it's probably more to do with the technology of the resins that are available and how they respond to different things like climate, heat, moisture is a big one. A lot of our commercial projects, they've got concrete slabs with, constant rising damp. We're currently on a project at the naval base, and it's all water there. Essentially 6 months of the year they've got really wet concrete.
Yes.
And we need the resins that we now have access to can combat a lot of that. So it's not a temporary solution for the customer. In terms of trends, it really depends, right? For us, our approach is always functionality. Sits a little bit higher than aesthetics.
Yes.
And the reason for that is what we put down, we want it to stay down.
Yes.
But then we also take into consideration what customers are asking, what sort of looks they're looking for, what type of... we had a customer a couple of years back, and he was an Arsenal supporter, and we didn't have any red flake at the time, right? But he liked the tuxedo, which we do a lot of for you. And he said, is there any way you can get red there? And we ordered a custom blend of red and blended it with the rest of his tuxedo, and he got the look that he wanted, right?
Killer.
So being able to have access to things like that, just like that, is really important to us, because then we can service we won't be able to service 100% of the market.
But you can accommodate to a lot more.
To a lot more, yeah.
So it's that flexibility to be able to chop and change if required to suit the right.
Definitely. And also the other big thing which we... Ali, who you've met, our operations manager, Ali and I both really harp on is the preparation that goes into our process. So how we prepare the concrete. The number of times I've had a call, customer says, I've put this 2-pack down and I acid washed it and pressure washed it, and it's all it was all fine until I started driving on it in summer. Yeah. And you're like, that's the reason why no matter what, even brand new slab, we'll diamond grind it, and it's dry diamond grinding, and I don't think we've had any ill feedback from any one of your projects saying there's so much dust.
No.
All our dust extractors match the efficiencies of our grinders. So if the grinder's spitting out this many cubic feet a minute of dust, the dust collector is suited to pick that up.
Yeah, perfect.
So, but it means that we can prepare the substrate the best way possible to give your floor the best chance of excellent mechanical and chemical adhesion.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, because that's a real big one when we explain to clients, is that the process isn't just as simple as you get a brand new fresh slab, you try and blast it down, and then you slap on the epoxy. You guys are taking the time and have the right tools applicable for the job, where you are grinding it back, etching it, then pulling your layers on to ensure that you've got that proper adhesion to it, so you're not having those issues. What about in terms of basically, is there anything else in regards to benefits with the actual epoxy flooring that you guys are able to offer, like aesthetics and functionality? Is it only for is the epoxy flooring more just suited for people that, you know, have nicer cars and bigger garages, or what about families and can you guys do them on al frescoes or driveways?
Yeah.
Is there a limitation to where you can put the epoxy?
So one of the things that we've spent a lot of time on over the last few years is having access to different materials and different products, right?
Cool.
Epoxies are so widely used on the market. Then they're great products, but they have limitations. You know, if you said, Nick, you had an alfresco and you wanted to seal it, I would never use an epoxy there because the sun's going to hit it and it's going to go yellow.
Yes.
We need to use something that's UV stable, which we do for you in all your garages, right?
Yes.
We make sure that whatever we're putting down is suited and catered to the conditions and environment it's in. Then we might get a customer, you know, we've got a few like this. I think this week we had some commercial warehouse. They need us to be in and out in one night, and it's 300-400 square meters.
Yeah, wow. Big job.
Well, epoxy, slow curing. You can, you know, foot traffic after 24 hours, but vehicle traffic, forklift traffic, typically 5 to 7 days.
Yes.
They're just not going to run their operation for 5 to 7 days. So we use things like methyl methacrylates, MMAs, polyaspartics, like a whole bunch of. So we put that time into like making sure, essentially, like our arsenal is full of whatever we need to cater to most situations, right?
Perfect.
And whereas I think with some other operators, they go like, I'm comfortable just using this, so that's all I will sell.
Yeah.
And it may not necessarily cater to the client's needs. Like, the client may be none the wiser, right? Like, you wouldn't know whether this resin was better than that, and like, unless I told you it was or it wasn't, right?
Exactly.
So we, in an effort to obviously be transparent, but also to cater to a good portion of the market, we make sure that we've essentially got something that will fit about 80 to 90% of what people's needs are.
Yeah, perfect.
And when there are instances where we don't have access to certain products or materials or aren't trained in it, and what we do there is we're transparent with the client and go, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Jones or company ABC, this is something that's a little bit outside of what we're capable of, but here's someone that might be able to give you a hand or help you out with this here. And so I think people really appreciate that honesty as well.
Yeah. Well, it's not like you're trying to take on business that you don't know. Do you know what I mean? It's like jack of all trades, master of none. You know what you're good at and you stick to it, but you're still able to accommodate most of the market. And that's a big thing with us. It's, you know, in terms of with our business, with the building is, we could do X, Y, Z and all these other complicated jobs, but it's not our forte. This is what our forte is, in assisting these clients. And the same thing as with you guys. It's if you don't have the product and, you know, and specialize in that, you better let someone else deal with that. And what you do know, you do well, and rinse and repeat, and be able to show that quality, you know, workmanship as well, as well as, you know, that sharp pricing for the work that it is. Because I think with our stuff, we use a lot of polyaspartic in the garages, especially, and, you know, in some of the alfrescos. So as long as, in terms of for a client, if they're looking at it, is that they just need to have great concrete, and then you guys can look into what options are available, or how does it work? So
say, for example, we do a lot of mechanically polished concrete, right? And there are certain requirements for, you know, like the strength of the slab. There's basically like a criteria list of things that need to happen if the client wants these finishes. Before the build, if they have the luxury to, before the build, we actually sit down with the client and go through that process. Here's what you need for us to be able to make your floor look like that glass floor that you walk through in there, right? But not a lot of clients get that luxury. Sometimes they're halfway through the build and they decide, like, I want the door. So we've come up with enough alternatives if we cannot achieve that exact thing, and that certainly has helped a lot of clients when they've thought about doing their floor after the build started, right? So we've got a few options that way. Certainly, one of the things that I've always found is, especially with clients like yourself, is you start off small with them. So we've got a few clients like yourself where all we were doing was just this particular style or type of work for them for a number of years. And then as the relationship grew and the like trust built, they're like, do you guys actually do, like, what else do you guys do? And get them to come in, like, here's who we are, here's what we do, walk them through our facilities, show them some of our projects that we've done, and what we're capable of. And they're like, holy shit, like I didn't realize that you guys did all these other things.
It's a whole different ball game. It's like you open the doors, it's like you unlock the levels, and then all of a sudden everything when it opens up, it's quite astounding. A quick one actually is, you did mention that you do a lot of commercial, right? Is the product that you use in the commercial different to residential?
Good question. I'm glad you asked because I forgot. I forgot about it. So this is what I tell all our customers, right? The products that we use residentially are exactly what we use commercially and in industrial applications. So we don't have, I guess, to some extent, like watered down products for residential applications. Everything that we use every day is geared for our commercial and industrial market. So, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, I know you've just built a house and it's residential. The products we would use in a workshop environment with forklifts, with trucks driving over it, that kind of stuff. So we don't have a different, I guess, cheaper or more cost-effective product range because, like, while it already works for us commercially in like the harshest environment, why would we change that going into our residential application, right? And that's our approach to it. Might not be everyone's approach, but that's certainly something like we've always done and been quite proud of. Is anything we do, if it can withstand the worst, it's going to last pretty well for you.
Absolutely. Is there, probably the last question I'd have is there warranties on the actual workmanship and the products that clients can actually, to help reinforce? Because I know some of the more private applicators, they would have a specific one just for the flake and then a 1 or 2 year warranty on their workmanship, subject to this. How's it work with Hall?
So the way it works is like we have a 2 year warranty structure for all our customers, right? We're the commercial, residential, and it's got dot points of what's included, what isn't, and like everything down to a T. And we send that out with every quote that we send out, so we're upfront with the client from the get-go. That being said, there are moments like we've had clients, we put their floors down 10 years ago and they had something small happen and they're not sure what to do. But they've been coming to us for the last 10 years for different projects. Like we're about building and maintaining relationships, right? Like in an instance like that, like I would almost just prefer to go, hey guys, can you send a team out to just spend a couple of hours there, get it fixed and move on? Because the value of that client to us is much more than the cost of
that small
the 2 or 3 hours to do that, right? At the same time, there are instances like, and I think we've been pretty blessed with the type of clients that we have, where they don't try and sort of pull wool over our eyes. If something's happened, someone's dropped acid and left it there overnight, clearly any floor's going to get destroyed, right? So we'll get clients that ring us up and, hey Ben, had this accident happen. Look, floor's only 2 years old and everything else looks great here. What can we do here? And we'll go, okay, look, we're probably going to need about 3-4 hours and here's what we need. And then we quote it out like normal and then just go do the job, and keeps the client happy. They know that we're trying to look after them at the same time. We're doing it quickly. But essentially all our quotes that we send out, we attach a warranty structure to it. And there'll be times where clients will question, and I'm glad that I get those clients because they actually read all the fine print, right? And I love when they come back and go, you've got on here allowance if needed for a generator and this is your cost for a generator hire per day. Go, great. You've got power in your property, don't you? Because I checked that when I came out. Oh, yeah, I do. So you're not going to need a generator. So that's in there to cover us in the event. Like we've rocked up. We've gone to, in fact, we're heading up to Christmas Creek. One of our teams is heading up to Christmas Creek next week. And they may not have adequate power there. But in our quote and our warranty structure and terms and conditions, it's all in there. So the client knows, hey, we might need power. I go, no worries, we'll send a Jenny out. You've already received the cost for it, even though you didn't ask for it. We're trying to be as transparent as we can be, right? But at the same time, something, you know, from where we were 4 years ago to where we are now, like, we've all had some pretty like massive learning curves and teaching moments.
Yep.
And we've certainly had stints where things weren't going right for us, and we've rather than sat there and scoff at the world, we've taken those to improve ourselves, to make sure that essentially what we put down stays down.
Yes.
And the great thing about having, you know, 8 to 10 guys on the tools that are employed and trained by us is that we get to control
the quality of work.
Yeah, the quality of work, but also typically if something was to go wrong, like our operations manager knows our team so well that he knows typically what could have gone wrong.
Yes.
And it's much easier for us to troubleshoot and solve and not impact any sort of delays, cause any delays to the client, right?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah. So what was the warranty?
2 years.
2 years?
2 years,
yeah. Cool. Yeah, sweet. Is that for the product and the workmanship? Or?
All of it, yeah. So we don't sit there and go, well, the product, you contact the manufacturer and we'll cover the labour.
Yep.
We just go, no, you shopped with us, you didn't shop with the manufacturer.
Yes.
It's on us, we'll sort it out. But yes, we'll come out and sort everything out for you. Yeah.
Killer.
Yeah.
Perfect. I really appreciate you taking the time.
No, thanks for coming in.
And basically, yeah, we love working with you guys and continue and hope to continue our partnership in the future. Hopefully take it national as well. Yeah. And take it from there.
Definitely.
My man.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Yeah. Cool.
So
we're back on camera because we forgot to do it. We forgot.
So we're back on it because we actually forgot. This is actually a really good question that a few of our followers actually queried was, with the polyaspartic and the epoxy resins that you guys do on the floors, is there any toxic fumes or anything like that that they need to be concerned about over time since having it on their garages? I'm glad we got the camera back on for this because I'd love to answer that question. So there are products on the market that they're referred to as low solids. So there's a lot of VOCs, airbornes, things that will, for the life that floors down, will continue to emit off the floor. Right. Most of our products, certainly all the products that we use for you guys, are all high solids, so very low to zero VOCs. Right. Okay. The reason for that isn't just to protect the customer; it's also to protect our biggest assets, which is our team. Yes. They're exposed to it every single day, and you see our guys with their respirators on and the correct filters, not just like a Bunnings paper mask. Yes. We invest a lot into our team, so we want to prolong their life. Essentially, they need to be working for us as long as we can have them, right? Yeah. So we do things like make sure that most of our, and there's a reason why I say most of our products that we put down are high solids, low VOCs. Yep. There are a small portion of products we have to use for certain commercial applications that have a higher VOC content. Right. And in those instances, what we do is we actually have to put measures in place so that no one else other than us is around when we're applying. Okay. And the areas have to essentially be cleared out and allowed to those airbornes to dissipate. Yeah, dissipate is the word. Yeah, good one. Yeah. The other thing that we do, because our guys on the ground are one of our biggest investments, is as much as possible. In fact, I think it's almost biannually or annually. They go in for a medical. They do a respiratory test, and we want to make sure that their health isn't on a decline because of the job that they're doing, right? Yeah. Yep. So that's certainly another reason why we make sure that not only do they have the right PPE, but the products that they're using day in and day out aren't impacting their health. Perfect. Yeah. So once they do, let's take residential into consideration at the moment. So there isn't really a risk at all there in terms of those toxic fumes. Is that correct?
So there aren't any toxic fumes.
Yeah, perfect.
We do use some products like cleaning agents, and that's certainly will have an amount of compounds that could be harmful with prolonged exposure. So like if you're sitting there sniffing this, it's no different.
Note to self, do not sniff.
I mean, it's no different to you pumping fuel in once a week, right?
Right. Yes.
If you sit there sniffing your fuel cap while you're pumping in, clearly it's gonna be harmful.
Yes.
But the level of exposure to some of these cleaning agents is like you with your Bowser in the car and filling it up. It's very minimal unless it's prolonged. So
cool. And once it has been applied, is there any lasting residual effects of that, or once it's been done, that's basically
it? Certainly with what we do for you guys is within 24 hours, everything's dissipated. If there are any airbornes, they've all dissipated within 24 hours. Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
Perfect. Yeah, that's a good one. Happy with that.
Because
nothing else comes.
Yeah, no, it's a very good question. Certainly, the trend started to change. Like people started to become more aware of this. I'd say probably about 5 or 6 years, maybe even longer ago. Europe certainly took lead on the resins that they were using, both residentially and commercially.
Yes.
And we saw a shift in what products were available coming out of the likes of Germany and things like that.
Yep.
And we're like, oh no, but we're so used to ordering this from you. Why can't we have that? Right? It's like, there's a reason behind it.
Yes.
And the health impacts. Gone are the days where you put down resins or products with high solvent contents that essentially for the life of the floor. If you imagine that, like your newborn child crawling across the floor.
Scary.
That's scary, right?
Yeah.
So we certainly don't just adhere to whatever the rest of the market's doing. We try and take it that step further and go like, not only do we want to protect the clients, we also want to protect our guys and our team and our assets. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Probably one more question I actually do have is honed garage slabs versus the epoxy or polyaspartic products that you guys use.
Yeah.
Is there a big difference, as a rough idea, cost-wise and longevity on the two?
Not necessarily. So typically, garages or hard stands, they're poured. In a lot of instances, certainly in WA, they're a lot softer and more sandy. So you get a lot of pinholes when you're grinding garage slabs. So if you're putting a clear over it, while you might be able to fill those pinholes with grout or other products, the slab may not necessarily be designed for that particular look.
Okay.
That being said, we've like I was saying much earlier in the video, there are alternatives that we've done. So essentially working with a pretty average slab to turn it into like a really nice hone and seal.
Yes.
And quite often at hone and seals we're still using those polyaspartic resins that we would for your decorative resin floor. Yeah. So same products. I wouldn't expect it. If we've looked at the job and we've assessed it and we've gone, no, we can hone and seal this, and here are the limitations, Mr. Customer.
Yep.
You might get a bunch of pinholing because the slab wasn't designed for this. If you're happy with that, we'll still seal it with the same resins that we would have done on a flake floor, or we might have done on a flake floor. They're still going to be UV stable, and you'll see your honed aggregate under that clear.
Perfect.
We just won't put any tint in there, right?
Yes.
Won't broadcast any flake in that. So
is there like a non-slip that you can do on those on these polyaspartic floors as well as the honed floors or anything like that you offer?
Yes, we use a non-slip additive that is abrasive enough that when the floor's wet, it creates enough slip resistance.
Cool.
But the shape of, and it's like in microns, right? We're talking. Right. The shape of it allows for good cleanability. You know, I don't know whether you saw the little seesaw thing that
Yes.
Connor posted on our, I think, on our Instagram.
It was on your socials,
Yeah,
yeah.
so like essentially the coarser the floor, the harder it is to clean. The smoother the floor, easier it is to clean.
But then
and we
also-
try and find that balance,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So in garages, typically it's not getting flooded, it's not getting washed out all the time.
Yep.
It's more so like, you know, on rainy days when cars drive in and they're dripping.
Yes.
And you're grabbing your shopping out of the boot, the last thing you want to do is go ass up, right?
Yeah, 100%.
There's that fine balance which we've found.
Yeah,
So,
perfect.
yeah.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Yep.
Cool.
I'm having that now.